Welcome to Mind Blow, the ultimate destination for jaw-dropping content that will surprise, inspire, and entertain you every step of the way. If you love discovering the unexpected, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and share with your friends to keep the excitement going. Your support helps us keep blowing minds and creating content you'll never forget. So buckle up and get ready, because this is just the beginning. At first glance, the waters stretching between the southern Philippines and Sabah appear serene, their glassy surface reflecting the soft glow of sunrise. But beneath this calm exterior, a current of tension flows, shaped by decades of unresolved disputes and historical grievances. What seems peaceful from above is, in reality, a maritime frontier fraught with uncertainty and unease. Today, naval patrols from both Manila and Kuala Lumpur cross these waters with increasing frequency. Each ship, bristling with antennas and national flags, is more than just a vessel. It's a floating reminder of claims that have never been settled. The sight of rival patrols passing in the open sea is a silent standoff, a daily ritual that underscores the fragile status quo. In the capitals of both nations, government officials and military leaders monitor every movement with growing anxiety. Behind closed doors, tense meetings and urgent briefings unfold, as leaders weigh the risks of escalation. They know that a single miscalculation, a misunderstood maneuver, a stray radio message, could ignite a crisis with far-reaching consequences. While the South China Sea often dominates international headlines, this quieter, simmering conflict between ASEAN neighbors is just as perilous. The world's attention may be elsewhere, but the stakes here are no less significant for the region's future. Every patrol, every radio transmission, and every carefully worded diplomatic statement adds another layer of pressure to an already delicate peace. The crews aboard these ships remain on constant alert, knowing that even routine encounters can quickly spiral out of control. For the people who live along these coasts, the invisible lines drawn by politicians and diplomats have become all too real. Fishermen now navigate uncertain waters, wary of crossing boundaries that didn't exist for their ancestors. Families find themselves divided, their daily lives disrupted by a dispute that feels distant, yet shapes their every decision. This conflict isn't just about territory or resources, it's about identity, heritage, and the right to call a place home. For many, the struggle is deeply personal, touching on livelihoods, family ties, and the hope for a stable future in a region where peace is never guaranteed. As foreign powers increase their presence, conducting joint exercises and sending warships into these contested waters, the Sabah issue becomes even more complicated. Instead of drawing the Philippines and Malaysia closer as neighbors, it risks driving a wedge between two countries that share history, culture, and security interests. The patrol boats off Sabah's coast are not just enforcing maritime boundaries, they are circling a problem that threatens the stability of all Southeast Asia. The world may not always be watching, but for those who live and lead here, the stakes could not be higher. To truly grasp the depth of today's tensions over Sabah, we must journey back to the 19th century, when the Sultanate of Sulu was a powerful maritime kingdom. This sultanate, with its rich culture and strategic influence, played a pivotal role in the region's history. At its height, the Sultanate's reach extended from the southern Philippines across the Sulu Sea to the northern coast of Borneo, encompassing what is now known as Sabah. This vast domain was a crossroads for trade, diplomacy, and power struggles. In 1878, seeking to protect his interests amid growing European influence, the Sultan entered into a controversial agreement with British merchants. He granted them rights over North Borneo, modern-day Sabah, in exchange for annual payments, a deal that would later become the heart of a complex dispute. The treaty's wording was ambiguous, with key terms left open to interpretation. Was it a lease or a permanent cession? This uncertainty planted the seeds of a conflict that would echo for generations. For decades, the British North Borneo Company administered the territory, collecting resources and governing the land. Yet, the Sultanate of Sulu and its heirs never considered the annual payments as a final settlement, believing their sovereignty remained intact. As colonial empires faded after World War II, and new nations like Malaysia and the Philippines emerged, the question of Sabah's rightful ownership resurfaced, reigniting old claims and stirring new passions. When Britain prepared to withdraw and decolonize the region in the 1960s, the Philippines, as the legal successor to the Sultanate of Sulu, formally asserted its claim to Sabah on the world stage, bringing the dispute into international focus. Two nations, each with their own history and perspective, inherited two conflicting interpretations of a single fateful agreement. The meaning of that 1878 deal remains hotly debated to this day. With both sides standing firm, the stage was set for a confrontation that continues to shape the politics, security, and identity of the region, making Sabah one of Southeast Asia's most enduring and tangled disputes. The heart of the Sabah dispute is a single word: pajak. In the 1878 agreement, Malaysia says pajak means to cede. Sabah was sold. End of story. The Philippines insists it means to lease. Sabah was only rented out, and sovereignty was never surrendered. For Malaysia, decades of administration and a 1963 referendum proved their case. For the Philippines, the British never owned what they couldn't lease, and the referendum was flawed. The annual payments to the Sultan's heirs continue, each side calling it something different, rent or cession money. This isn't just semantics, it's the legal and moral core of each nation's claim. The disagreement keeps the dispute alive, fueling national pride and diplomatic tension. Sabah's journey from company holding to Malaysian state is key to the stalemate. After WSU, the British took direct control, making Sabah a crown colony. As decolonization loomed, Britain planned to merge Sabah into Malaysia. The Philippines protested, claiming Sabah as the Sulu Sultanate's heir. Despite objections, a commission found most Sabahans favored joining Malaysia, and the new federation was born in 1963. The dispute shifted from colonial powers to two neighbors, one in control, one refusing to let go. Malaysia governs Sabah as its own, while the Philippines keeps its claim alive. The result, partners in ASEAN, but rivals over Sabah. The issue remains a permanent, unresolved tension. The Sabah dispute is political dynamite for leaders in both countries. Every move, every statement, is watched closely by the public and the media, making it a high-stakes issue that no politician can afford to ignore. The legacy of colonial borders and old treaties continues to haunt the present, fueling nationalist sentiments on both sides of the sea. In Malaysia, any hint of compromise is unthinkable. Sabah is sacred ground. The state is seen not just as a territory, but as a symbol of national pride and unity. Politicians who even suggest negotiation risk public outrage and political backlash, making the issue a rallying point for patriotism and national identity. Philippine leaders face pressure to defend the claim, even if it complicates relations with Malaysia. For many Filipinos, the Sabah claim is a matter of historical justice and national dignity. Politicians are often caught between the desire to improve diplomatic ties and the demands of their constituents, who see Sabah as rightfully theirs. This leads to inconsistent policies and periodic flare-ups. Diplomatic talks stall, border security tightens, and the issue resurfaces in the media whenever tensions rise. The lack of a clear resolution keeps both governments on edge, and the uncertainty trickles down to ordinary people. For local communities, like the Tausug and Bajau, borders have turned daily life into a struggle. These people have lived and traded across these waters for generations, but now face restrictions, suspicion, and sometimes even violence. Their livelihoods are threatened, and their sense of belonging is constantly challenged by shifting political tides. Families are split, and people face suspicion on both sides. Some are forced to choose between their heritage and their future, while others live in fear of being caught in the crossfire of political disputes. The human cost of the conflict is often overlooked in official statements and diplomatic negotiations. The 2013 Lahad Datu incident, when armed followers of a Sulu claimant landed in Sabah, showed how quickly history can turn violent. What began as a political statement escalated into a deadly confrontation, leaving dozens dead and communities traumatized. The incident was a stark reminder that unresolved history can erupt into present-day conflict. The standoff left scars and deepened mistrust. Many locals still remember the fear and uncertainty, and the sense of loss lingers in the community. The trauma is not easily forgotten, and it continues to shape how people view their neighbors and the authorities. The dispute isn't just about history, it's a wound that shapes lives and politics today. It affects how people see themselves, their neighbors, and their place in the world. The legacy of conflict is visible in daily life, from divided families to ongoing debates in Parliament. Until it heals, true partnership remains out of reach. Only through honest dialogue, empathy, and a willingness to address the past can both nations hope to move forward. The path to healing is long, but it is the only way to build lasting peace and trust in the region. The Sabah dispute plays out as China rises and asserts claims in the South China Sea. Instead of uniting against a common threat, the Philippines and Malaysia are divided, giving China an opening. Beijing exploits this rift, preferring to deal with ASEAN states one-on-one. When Manila won its legal case against China in 2016, Malaysia's support was muted, fearing it might set a precedent for Sabah. This division weakens ASEAN's ability to respond to external pressure. China gains leverage, and Southeast Asia's security is undermined. The Sabah dispute is now a strategic liability, not just a bilateral quarrel. The cost of inaction is high. Accidental conflict is a real risk, as seen in Lahad Datu. Naval patrols raise the chance of a miscalculation that could spiral out of control. The dispute also weakens ASEAN, making regional cooperation harder and inviting outside interference. So, what's the way forward? Quiet diplomacy and back-channel talks are essential to lower tensions. Legal arbitration is possible, but risky. One side will lose. A more practical step: joint development of resources, setting aside sovereignty for now to build trust and benefit local communities. Resolving Sabah isn't just about history, it's about securing a stable, prosperous future for both nations and the region.